Is this real life or is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide with no escape from reality. Moon Knight, the latest series from Disney Plus, follows Stephen Grant or maybe Mark Spector as they find themselves in opposition to a mysterious cult leader who favors a cool glass of water to start the day and some crushed glass in his insoles. We've got gift shops, cupcakes, blackouts, memories of another life, and some wham. So, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg in the first episode called The Goldfish Problem. Welcome to another edition of the Podcast of Champions. I'm your host, Lord Deathman, and today we are going to review the first episode of Moon Knight right here on the POC. We've got a great show lined up for you, but before we get started, please be careful of spoilers and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the show. So let's turn our attention to the arena and just get started. Right now in the arena we have, starting with Grandmaster. Tell everybody how you're doing today.
Good evening, everybody. I'm doing great.
Right, it's late where you are.
Yes, absolutely. It's closing in on midnight.
Indeed. Lokismom is also joining the panel of champions today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really wonderful.
Outstanding. You ready to talk some Moon Knight?
Absolutely.
All right. And we also have Taylor, last but certainly not least. How are you doing today, man?
Doing good.
All right, guys. So we got a small but mighty panel here today. Let's just dive right into the discussion. I think this is one of the most exciting shows that Disney has released in a while. It's going in an incredibly different direction. So I'm going to go around the table and just kind of ask the panel what their impressions of this first really dramatic and action-packed episode of Moon Knight was. I'll start with you, Grandmaster.
Yeah, let me get started with the soundtrack. I really love the soundtrack. I mean, it started with a great Bob Dylan song, which actually went to Engelbert Humperdinck song during the opening credits, which came back later in the episode. Who would have thought that would fit? And then, of course, you mentioned Wham. The soundtrack was excellent during this first episode. Besides that, the acting was amazing. I mean, Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac really kill it during this episode. They set the bar really high for this complete show. And yeah, I love that there was a lot of action in the episode, but actually you didn't see the action because you basically saw everything from Steven's perspective, which is actually well done. Another height for Marvel Studios in my book.
Yeah. Not to put you on the spot, but does this fall into any particular order in terms of ranking the Disney Plus series? I know we're one episode in.
Yeah, you have always a tendency to rank that new first episode at the absolute top spot because it's new, it's fresh. You've seen the rest a few times before, and this is totally different. So I always have a hard time just ranking a show right after one episode. So I want to wait actually with that until we have seen it all.
All right. Well, look, we're going to come back around to you and sort of get your highlights and your more detailed sort of expansion on your review here. But for now, thank you for sharing the quick thoughts here.
You're
Taylor, what was your thinking on this first episode?
I enjoyed it a great deal. I liked everything that Grandmaster mentioned, the acting, the music. I liked the mystery, the plot. Is set up very well here in this first episode with a lot of things to find out along the way. A lot of some very good action sequences in this first episode. So yeah, overall, very pleased.
Yeah. This doesn't really start out as a traditional origin story. We're sort of dropped right in the middle of that, which I don't think we've done that before in a Disney Plus series unless we already knew the character. So, you know, how do you feel about that approach, Taylor?
Yeah, it's very good. It's different, like you said. We're dealing with this person. Steven is the the primary character in the first episode. We don't know anything about him. We see that he has some serious problems. We don't know what the causes of these problems are. If it's all in his head, we don't know anything at this point. So as opposed to just being a person who gets superpowers in some way, shape, or form, we're kind of in the middle of it. We find out by the end of the episode that he has superpowers, or there are superpowers, within him. But we didn't see where they came from, or how he got them, or why. So, like you said, it's right in the middle, and it is different. And like I said, it sets up a lot of intrigue and a lot of things to unfold as the series progresses.
Yeah. I think that was a very clever approach to getting this particular part of this particular series started. So thanks for that, Taylor. Lokismom, last but not least, what were your initial impressions of episode 1?
Well, I like how, as you say, this is a different approach. They've started it out differently. It's not a typical, with the origin story, and then it builds into the plot. I see this as a psychological thriller, more so than just a pure action movie, which most of the comic book movies tend to be. Of course, this is still comic book. It still has all the tropes of the comic book movie, but it's more interior to this particular man, whether it's Mark Spector or Steven. I mean, I'm still on the fence. Who's the actual person, and
who's kind of the construct, right?
Right,
like, who's the made up person?
Exactly. I think Steven may be more fiction than Mark. I think Mark is the actual person. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds and how it rolls down, how they resolve this toward the end. I mean, as far as it being something that's always going on inside of Steven's head, I don't see it that way. I think it's certainly, this is action, that this is real things that are going real in terms of the surreal comic book world that we see in these movies. I think he's there, but then all the other characters are too. So
right. Yeah, in a way, they're kind of deconstructing the idea, without getting all fancy and metaphysical. But this is a little bit of a deconstruction of the idea of a superhero, because if superheroes were real and you thought you had a secret identity where you were fighting crime at night, most people would think you were insane. And that's exactly, how Moon Knight is kind of unfolding here. But that being said, the tone of this is also different, Lokismom. I mean, this is kind of like, it's a darker show. And I actually mean that literally. A lot of it is kind of happening at night. You have this new Egyptian pantheon of gods, which we haven't really seen Marvel tackle that. DC's kind of done it with the Greek pantheon. I mean, you have a hero who isn't really he it seems like he's kind of a reluctant agent of Khonshu, as we find out in this episode, rather than someone who's taken it upon themselves to become a vigilante. So a lot of the tone, literally and figuratively, is different about this show. Is that something that stood out to you?
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's the whole pacing is different. It's a lot more. You have a lot more I can't really call it non-action, but unexciting things that you
I think the psychological thriller, you said it best when in your opening, that this really is playing out like a psychological thriller with a little less action, but a lot more mystery and intrigue and kind of layers. So that this it seems with each new Disney Plus release, Marvel gets a little bit more sophisticated with their storytelling, and that's something I do appreciate from them.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. But you've got the quick impressions from the panel. Thanks everybody for sounding off with your comments here. But now I want to turn to each champion and talk to them about what really stood out to them personally in the episode. Was there a moment that stood out? Is there something about the tone of this show that makes it a standout for you? And really do a deep dive into your view. And this time we'll start first with Taylor.
Yeah, I think there's two things about the first episode. One is kind of general, and the other is a specific scene in the episode. So the general part is kind of what Loki's mom was talking about, the intrigue about this person, this protagonist, this Steven. Is he real? And who is Mark? And who is the other voice telling him what to do and telling him to turn his body over to Mark and that sort of thing? So that whole level, that whole new type of character stuck out to me a lot. The other thing was the chase scene, the car chase scene.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of car chases, and it takes quite a bit to really get me excited about a car chase at this point, because it's all been done. But this one was really, really well done, and the way they mixed the changing of personality in the body and the loss of time during the car chase,
right,
all worked really well and came together really well. And the one other thing that struck me is the in a lot of genre entertainment stories, there's a character whose archetype known as the innocent, who is just a regular person who somehow gets caught up into this wild adventure, and the hero has to come in and take them along on this wild ride and enjoy it. The classic TV series from the 60s, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., was known to have an innocent in almost every episode, someone who just got caught up into it and then was along for the ride and ended up helping out at some point. Whereas in this particular story, the innocent and the hero are inhabiting the same body at the same
person.
time.
Yeah.
Steven doesn't know what's going on. He's a guy who works in the museum gift shop, and he, for some reason totally unknown to him, he's part of this earth-shattering, very dangerous situation. And there's only a voice in his head at this point trying to help him, or is he trying to help him at this point? We don't.
Yeah.
So those are my impressions from the episode.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Taylor. Grandmaster, you had a follow up to what Taylor was saying.
Yeah. He's not only don't know what's going on in this mystery and in this great adventure, but he also doesn't know he's going on dates. He also
right.
So I mean, there's major parts of his life are missing, and but I really love that aspect of the show.
Yeah, very different than, I would say, almost anything you've really seen in the genre so far. So when people sort of question Marvel's choices in terms of picking out these obscure characters, it's great to see that there's always like this underlying foundation for why they think it's going to be interesting, and it's not like they're just kind of randomly picking characters off of the shelf to make new shows and things like that about. But Grandmaster, while we're talking to you, what was your deep dive sort of reaction? What really stood out to you from episode 1?
Well, lots of really stood out. Like I said before, the acting, it's really, really, really good. Ethan Hawke really comes across as that cerebral, almost Jesus-like figure, passing judgment on his followers. And then you have Oscar Isaac, who really makes you believe he is schizophrenic, if I can call it like that.
Yeah, I think the new parlance is DID, disaffective identity, or dissociative identity disorder. Sorry.
Okay. Pardon my English. That's a little bit too hard for me to pronounce like that.
It's a bit much for us who are native speakers too. So okay. I will allow schizophrenic.
Okay. So if you're watching this and you're offended by this, I'm sorry. I'm not a native English speaker. I mean well. There was also negative for me that stood out. At certain moments during the car chase, which was awesome, I agree with that with Taylor. There was some dodgy CGI going on. That car that drove off the cliff, that didn't feel right. And when you had that stop scene where Stevie's truck finally broke down and they stepped out of the car, you get those logs falling down from from the cliff, from the mountain, and that also at that point the
took you out.
CGI was a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
off.
been a frequent criticism of that first episode. A lot of people are saying that, you know, they kind of skimped on the CGI here, but I think the story was kind of strong enough to make up for that.
Yeah. I say it's a negative. I don't say it's a big negative or that it ruined the episode for me. Absolutely not. It's just that I have to mention it because I noticed it.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
only fair.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed watching Steven live his life. Having a terrible boss, being in love with this beautiful girl, going on a date with her. Don't know he asked her, but apparently he does. He even skipped his vegan lifestyle for her. I really enjoyed that. He seems like a normal guy living his life in London in a gift shop. I actually they did some excellent world building there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He has a real surrounding.
Yeah, Taylor was totally right to point out the trope of the innocent sort of being used and in a new and kind of unique way here.
Yeah. And it's all mentioned before. And I actually love that Moon Knight reveal at the end. Actually, when he's in full costume, that was an awesome moment. And then the episode was stopped, and then But you get that last moment that was actually really cool and awesome. So the suit looked great.
Yeah. But thanks for your notes on that. And you know what? We're going to leave it to Loki's mom to see if everything has been said about this episode. Loki's mom, did you ever think that cupcakes would become a deadly weapon?
Well, if you've ever seen any Three Stooges movie, I guess.
There you go. No, but seriously, what really stood out to you in the episode?
Oliver and Hardy.
Yeah, I was going to say a really trained killer would know how to use cupcakes as a lethal weapon. What stood out to me, and I think everybody kind of said it, but kind of playing off the idea of the innocent there that Taylor's talking about. He is, Steven's very much what they call the everyman. He's the innocent, the guy just stuck there, and everything sort of happens to him. It's all out of his control. So I think that's Steven pretty much. But do you remember the beginning of Laverne and Shirley where they would do, I can't remember the whole thing, but they would say Schlemiel, Schlemazel.
Oh, yeah. I've been watching a lot of Laverne and Shirley lately.
well, I think we all know what a Schlemiel is. We hear that, the Schlemiel, Steven would be a Schlemiel. And then there's the term called the Schlemazel. Now, I'm not Jewish or anything, so I'm just things that I've learned through osmosis. But the Schlemazel, I've heard it described as the Schlemiel Schlemazel. The Schlemiel is the guy who throws up. The Schlemazel is the guy that the Schlemiel throws up on. So I think that's what you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing Mark is the Schlemazel. He's the guy that's having to take all this burden on of trying to carry Steven to do his bidding, so that they can cooperate and work together for whatever their immediate purpose is to get out of trouble. So yeah, I see that's going to play through. I think it's also, I think here again you have this binary oppositions of Steven and Mark's character. Then you have this greater opposition of Harrow's cult that is a purity cult. I mean, you're either good or you're bad. I mean, there's no in between. There's no gray areas. And I think we tend to you see that in ideologies that tend to spin off toward the further ends of the political spectrum when ideological purity is very important. So I think that's maybe going to be an allusion to that. They're not going to speak in those political terms. It's all going to be comic book tropes, but I think that's what they're going for here.
Yeah, they might be getting
really, really playing out in our society.
Yeah. That is totally another discussion, but you know what? The parallels are there, and they're probably just right under the surface. But thank you so much for the commentary there, guys. I do want to wrap this segment up, guys, by just getting some quick ratings for the show. Taylor, I'll start with you. How many cupcakes, on a 1 to 10 scale, would you give the first episode of Moon Knight?
Give the first episode 9 out of 10. It was a very strong episode.
Okay. And Grandmaster, how many scarabs, 1 out of 10, are you giving this first episode of Moon Knight?
I am a little bit more conservative because I know how Marvel builds these shows up, and well, if you start too high, you cannot go higher.
Right.
So I'm going up with an 8 out of 10.
Right. You don't want to have to keep using like decimal numbers, right? As you like 9.2125 as you keep going up. I hear you. Yeah. And Loki's mom, how many steaks are you giving this? 1 out of 10 non-vegan steaks.
Non-vegan steaks. I'm gonna give it an 8 bloody.
8 bloody. Okay, we're going 8 rare steaks, guys. You heard it here. So we're off to a good start, as we usually are with these Disney Plus shows. Again, Disney Marvel's delivering on stuff they had in the pipeline, and we're now seeing it come to fruition. I want to move on to our next segment of the show. So if you're out there in fandom land listening to this, please stay tuned. We're going to play a round of Canonfodder.
Canonfodder.
And this is the segment on the POC where we kind of pit the champions against the fandom in a deadly game of speculation. The panel will be given 3 of the wildest Moon Knight fandom theories that are circulating in the ether right now, and they're going to be asked to give a buy, hold, or sell rating on that particular theory. At the end of the series, we're going to tally everything up and see who came out ahead, the champions or the fandom, which one of us were on the right side of history there. But for now, we're just going to look at some of these theories with the caveat that on this particular show, since the critics got something like 4 episodes ahead of everybody else, us normies, a lot of these theories are being debunked. So if at the time you're hearing this, you officially know a theory's been debunked, we did the best that we could in terms of researching, what was still a mystery at the time. But let's get started straight away. Grandmaster, we're going to have you start this with the first theory. Who is Will a certain popular vampire from MCU lore, from Marvel lore, appear in the show? Will none other than Blade appear in Moon Knight? Are you going to buy, hold, or sell on that?
I'm going to buy this. And it's based on a simple fact. This show is set in London. At least the main plot line of the first episode is set in London. And if you recall the post-credit scene from Eternals where Dane Whitman was almost about to touch the ebony blade, the voice that stopped him or questioned him, I don't know if he stopped him, was the voice of Mahershala Ali, who's playing Blade in the MCU. We haven't seen him so far, but that was confirmed. And Moon Knight is sort of in the same corner as Blade, the Black Knight of the Marvel lore. I'm gonna buy it based on the fact that the show is based in London. Blade is there, so.
Okay, we got a strong buy here. Loki's mom, are you buying, selling, or holding on Blade appearing in the series?
Depending on what you mean by appearing, if it's like a cameo appearance, something toward the end that's going to factor.
I can give you some latitude on this. It could be a full in costume appearance, or it could be just a voice, or even an illusion. But we have to have some reference to Blade in the series for you to make your decision. Buy, hold, or sell.
Okay, well, in that case, it would be buy because, the set, like Grandmaster's pointed out, it's already been set up. So, I think it's coming.
Okay, 2 buys. Taylor, will you break the streak? Are you buying, holding, or selling on this one?
I'm selling.
Okay.
And let me say that I don't count like a post-credit scene as appearing in the show, because anything can show up in a post-credit scene. Howard the Duck could be in a post-credit scene for this show. So as far as Blade actually appearing within an episode of this show and being a part of this series in the first season, I'm going to sell on that.
Okay. And that was a hard sell there, guys. So, but Taylor may have given rise to a new theory in that Howard the Duck may end up showing up here. So be careful what you wish for. Fandom theory of
I
next
don't know
week.
if Howard the Duck is vegan.
He's not.
He's not.
He's a dabbler.
I think we know he's not a cannibal. I think in the Howard the Duck movie, he refused to eat a duck or be served a duck.
Okay.
All right, but moving on, guys. Let's look at the next theory, guys. Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, played by the Hawk. This theory is going to be kind of wild and kind of out there, so I'm going to have to set it up and give you some context. Arthur Harrow, when we see Mark Spector fall out of that tower and sort of break his jaw, and in the background of that, you do see a castle. And we know that castles in the MCU or in Marvel lore are associated with a certain Doctor of Doom. So this theory goes like this. Arthur Harrow is Doctor Doom. Lokismom, would you buy, hold, or sell on that theory?
Sell.
Sell, without even a moment's hesitation. The castle wasn't enough to convince you.
No.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on to Grandmaster, are you buy, holding, or selling on that?
I'm going to hold on this one. And that's because I noticed something while rewatching the episode earlier tonight, before we record this review. During the car chase scene in the van, right behind Steven on the driver's seat, part of the bus, right behind the driver's seat, there's a few boxes there, and that box spells VON -DO.
Oh no.
Yes. So at least Victor Van Doom is hinted in this episode. So I'm not sure Arthur Harrow is Victor Van Doom. I would be very surprised, but I wouldn't rule it out.
You wouldn't rule it out, so you're going to hold on that.
Yes.
And I mean, not only do we have the castle that was in the background, but we also have the fact that the Doctor does dabble in the occult, which is what is going on here in this series, and that he is a cult leader, a fanatical cult leader when it comes to the subjects of Latveria, the fictional city in Eastern Europe.
And that's the part that makes me doubt it also, because Latveria, this was clearly located in the Alps. I'm from Europe. I recognize the countryside. So that's not Eastern Europe.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Moving on to Taylor. Are you buying, holding, or selling on the Doctor Doom theory?
The theory that Arthur Harrow is Doctor Doom?
Is Doctor Doom.
Sell.
Sell. Okay.
He's not Doctor. First of all, Grandmaster, just how long did it take you to find those letters in the back of that van? Did you go frame by frame through the entire episode, or just the car check?
No. To be fair, I saw a video on TikTok pointing it out, but it went too fast. So I thought it was nonsense. But then I checked it later earlier tonight, and those boxes are actually there, and it does spell Von Doom. I don't know if it finishes up with but
is that German for like fondue? Maybe it's a cheese.
No. In German, Von is basically the word off in America.
Like Werner von Braun.
Yeah.
Von.
Yeah.
Doctor of Doom.
In the Netherlands, we have
Von is very, very common in German.
Yeah, we have in the Netherlands we have Van, and usually it comes out. It is followed by a town name, and when the last names were made up, like Mike van Alpha, it means he came from Alpha, a town here in the Netherlands. So basically, that's what the Von or Van means in those names. So actually, Doom is not a town. So actually, it's pretty nonsensical by Marvel to use it in that way. But I forgive them; they're American.
It'd be very interesting if Dr. Doom made his fortune by selling cupcakes.
Cupcakes.
But,
yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
but I'm going to stick with the sell that Arthur is not Dr. Doom. The castles are not that uncommon in Europe. All over Europe, there are castles.
East or west.
And I just want to make sure, Lord Deathman, you earlier said Doctor of Doom. It's Doctor Doom. Doctor of Doom is a movie made in Mexico about women wrestlers fighting supernatural forces. I highly recommend it, but not the same guy.
Got it. Doctor of Doom, guys, you heard it here. The discussion is free flowing on this one. Let us move on to our third and final piece of cannon fodder here, guys. This was a good one. Jack Russell, and not the terrier, not the species of canine, but Jack Russell, also known as the Werewolf by Night in Marvel lore, will appear in Moon Knight. Taylor, I want to start with you to see if you're going to buy, hold, or sell on an appearance in Moon Knight of Werewolf by Night.
Okay, well, that one I'm going to hold because that is a character that is closely associated with Moon Knight. And I think there's a good chance of seeing Jack Russell as opposed to a full-on furry werewolf creature.
Right.
I think there's a chance of the character making an appearance of some sort in this actual series. So I'm not, it's way too early to tell. That's why I'm holding. I'm not buying or selling, but I will hold.
All right, sounds good. We've got our first hold on this theory. Loki's mom, what do you think? Are we going to see Jack Russell in the Moon Knight series before it ends?
Yeah, buy. I'm going to buy on that.
Okay.
I'm just going to splurge on this one. Take a chance.
I feel like I'm on the floor and I have to write down your order. Spend money to make money. I like that. All right, we got a buy here from Loki's mom. Grandmaster, how do you want to tie this one up? You think we're going to see Jack Russell?
Again, I'm going to hold. I'm not sure, but it very well could be. I just think those Midnight Suns, they are slowly flowing into the MCU. Blade is collecting them. At least that looks like it looks like that, or at least he's connected to all of them. I can see this happening, but I'm not sure. So hold.
Okay. All right, guys. So that concludes with Grandmaster's hold. That concludes our segment here on Cannon Fodder. I want to quickly go through a lightning round and ask you guys some questions about this series before we close out the episode 1 review. Starting with you, Loki's mom, I have to ask you, who is the worst boss on this show, Donna or Khonshu?
I would have to say Donna. I really don't like
because Khonshu would probably only snap your neck. But Donna, she really does seem to be a problem, doesn't she?
Yeah, Donna is one of those people who have a take a little bit of power and just kind of like spread it real thick.
Right. There we go. The tyranny of the gift shop manager. Grandmaster, what's up with the golden guy? Do you think that that's somebody out of the Moon Knight lore? He does have an operative that he uses on the street in the comic books by the name of Frenchie. Is that guy just the victim of a crazy person talking to him in the park, or do you think he's really maybe keeping an eye out on Moon Knight? What do you think about the golden statue guy?
No, the golden statue guy is the victim here. Yeah, I mean, his whole deal is that he cannot move. So Stevie finally found someone who won't run away from him. So yeah, naturally he's going to talk to him.
Right. So this is a case of stalking where you always know where your victim's going to be.
Exactly. But on the other hand, Stephen does remind the people to leave the tip. So he's not a bad guy by any means, but the golden statue guy is definitely the victim here.
All right. Well, Taylor, we saw Steve running out of his apartment building, busy, late for work, trying to get the bus. Had to dodge the guy selling brooms outside of his apartment house, but he was on the phone as he was trying to make his way to get on the bus. Who was he talking to? We think it's his mother, but if he's an imaginary person, who could he possibly be leaving messages for?
At this point, we honestly have no idea. Is it his actual mother? If Steve's an actual person and not, not an avatar for someone else,
Right.
He may have an actual mother that he's leaving messages for or talking to. If not, it could be, some spy lord who's, overseeing this operation. That's just keeping him in check. Your guess is as good as mine on this point.
All right. Well, hopefully we find out. Guys, I'm going to take a couple of follow-ups here, starting with you, Lokismom. You had a follow-up on Taylor's notes?
Yeah. Well, now, does he say mom or does he say mum? Because there's a difference in pronunciation.
Could be his mummy. You know what? I don't remember. But given the accent that the actor's doing, his name escapes me at the moment, but given the accent, I would assume he said mum, Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll go with that.
Yeah, he could be talking to another dead person. And Grandmaster, your follow-up?
Yeah, I actually saw a serious theory on this. I don't know if you're interested in it, but theory is that actually this show is set during Snap, between the Snap and the Blip. And Mark Spector created Stephen Grant in his head because his mother got snapped away. And he still Stephen doesn't know that, he's still talking to his mom on the phone, leaving messages. And because that's the theory, the working theory. But yeah, I don't know if there's any truth in that, but I saw that online, so I thought I'd mention it.
Well, it is a bit of a mystery, and we know that Marvel's pretty good at tying up all these kinds of loose ends, and they wouldn't leave a dangle there. But for all we know, he could be talking to Matt Boner.
Matt Boner. Is that
Matt
Ralph
Boner?
Ralph Boner. Yeah, the brother of Ralph Boner. He could be talking to. So he could be talking to.
And he looks a lot like Ben Affleck because he's a variant from the Daredevil movie. He's actually Matt Murdock.
Right. But no, I think Taylor's got it right in that he could be leaving messages for Mephisto. Please show up.
No. That was the one fin fish. That was Mephisto.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for indulging me with the lightning round here, guys. Unless we have any other closing remarks, I think we can bring this review to a conclusion. All right, we're looking like the field is clear. I want to thank everybody who is joining us out there in Fandom Land and listening to the discussion. I hope you're enjoying it. I also want to thank the panel for taking time today to join us and really weigh in on this brand new series. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and liking this video and also leaving some comments. If you agree or disagree with our takes on any of the theories we discussed or any of our opinions here. And lastly, but not least, we all hope you're taking care of yourselves out there. Be well, be safe, be happy. And if you are within the sound of my voice, you too are a champion. Thanks for tuning in.